In this video, we're going to take a look at Intellytech's LiteCloth 160, which is this unit right here. Now, when I first saw this light, what I was immediately drawn to was the large 2x2 aperture, and it's a nice departure from the regular 1x1 panels we've been using for years. But what's interesting about this particular unit is that it comes in this nice hard case, if you get one unit at a time. And as you can see, this guy folds up into this. Now, if you've ever traveled with the light kit, I think you could immediately begin to see some of the advantages of working with lights like this. I mean, I could easily imagine putting 3 or 4 of these units in a single Pelican case for a nice, like a really nice interview kit that can travel, internationally with the least amount of hassles. So let's go take a couple of measurements of this light, and then we'll take a closer look at the build quality and the functionality of the unit. When I get a new unit, one of the first things I want to do is to measure the power consumption of that unit. Now, I do it for a couple of reasons. One of it is mostly it's out of habit because with LEDs, this is something of an academic exercise, but still I want to know how much power it's using and roughly how many units can we plug into any one circuit at any given time. So with this unit at 100%, I see we're consuming at about 1.42 amps at 120 volts. So we'll just calculate this real quickly, and we see that it's using about 170 watts of power. That's well within the literature expectations, and this gives me a kind of a rough idea, a rough estimate of what type of output I can expect from this light. To measure the output of this unit, I've placed the head precisely 10 feet away from our backdrop using the laser tape. And then from there, we just took our conventional light meter and we measured the output. At the same time, I did play with the color temperature to get the maximum output from this unit, and I did find that 30-foot candles was my maximum output at a rated 8100 degrees Kelvin on the control unit. And again, using the SIN meter too, we can see that the actual color, the measured color temperature is 6540 degrees Kelvin at a 2M, or a very, very slight magenta tint, which probably won't be noticeable. So 30-foot candles, if we were to look at that at something a little more conventional measurement, if we rate our camera for an ISO of 800 at 180 degree shutter or 1/48th of a second shutter, 24 frames per second, we would get a T4.4 or a 456 split. Which is actually a good amount of light, especially considering it's a soft light. It's 10 feet away from the subject, which is this wall. Typically, the light in an interview would be much closer to our subject, which would, of course, the inverse law, we would get a lot more output from the unit, and it would wrap a little bit more. The light would be softer. So this is a much brighter light than anticipated. And again, it's one of the reasons why we use it on almost every shoot. Now with this setup, I want to do a quick check on color accuracy against Adam Wilt's SIN meter 2. Now the SIN meter 2, it's not a Minolta color meter or another manufacturer's meter, but because I'm a DP and I'm not a light manufacturer, I just use this to quickly dial in a light on our location, because as you know, we're just dealing with mixed lighting sources all day long. So what we have now is our unit set to 5600 degrees Kelvin, and with our SIN meter, we are at 4820 degrees Kelvin with a plus 12 on the magenta tint on this meter. Now, what we can do is we'll adjust our color temperature to get it up to 5600 degrees on our meter. Now, I will say one tremendous advantage of this light unit on this controller is the tremendous color temperature range. It goes from 3000 to basically 10,000 degrees Kelvin. And I find that, okay, now we are at 5600 degrees and plus 9 on the magenta scale. So just it got a little less magenta tint at an indicated 5600 degrees. So what I was saying is that one nice thing about this unit, it goes from 3000 to basically 10,000 degrees Kelvin. It gives us a tremendous range of color temperature control. Because again, it just seems like a lot of manufacturers are a little optimistic or just not quite accurate on their indicated color temperature readings. Now, if we go to the other end of the scale, let me get the meter back up. Let's go down to 3200 degrees Kelvin. Okay, so at an indicated 3200 degrees Kelvin on our control unit, we are at 3200 degrees Kelvin on our SIN meter with 0G. We are, according to this meter, we are dead accurate at 3200 degrees, which is a great thing. So, but again, doing meter tests and stuff like this, it's one thing, but the true test of a light is to put it up against a gold standard, and that, of course, is going to be daylight. It's going to be the sun. So let's take a look at that next. When evaluating a light, the real important question to me is, how does this light render the human face, both in texture and color fidelity or color cast? Because, most of the time, or like maybe 95% of the time, I'm photographing the human face and not an object. Now, off the screen right over here, I have natural daylight coming through a window and through a sheet of diffusion. And off to screen left, we have our Intellytech LiteCloth 160. So what I'm looking for here is a color cast difference, especially in the shadow area between our two light sources. And of course, the question is always, how much work will it take, or how much will it cost to make an acceptable image to correct any color cast that we have from a unit? Now, from past experiences, I feel that the Intellytech is perfectly usable, and if it does give a color cast, it's very easy to fix in post and to blend with other units. Now, today, we're actually getting a very slight green tint or green push from natural daylight because of the foliage outside. Outside the window, there's actually a lot of green foliage, and it's giving us a slight green push. And we also know from the SIN meter that the Intellytech has a slight magenta, tends to have a slight magenta push at 5600 degrees Kelvin. But my experience with the unit is that, again, it's perfectly usable. It hasn't been a problem in post, and we tend to use it on almost every shoot. Now that kind of brings us to our next part of this test or evaluation, and that is the physical design and build of the unit, because as I mentioned before, it's a tremendous or a great unit to have when traveling because it folds so small. But how does that hold up, and how does that design work for everyday production? So let's take a look at that right now. For a real-world evaluation of Intellytech's LiteCloth LC160, I have to say that we use this light basically on every shoot. Again, originally I bought it because I thought it was a neat traveling light. It folds up so nice and tight, and it has a nice 2x2 form factor. But the reality is, it's just a great light to have on set all the time, and that's how we use it. The reasons are very simple. For one, of course, is the form factor. The fact that it is a 2x2 soft light with a tremendous color temperature range, and it's also very light and very thin, as you can see. Typically, we don't use the hardware that comes with the light. It's got a 5/8 stud, so we just put it on a C, just on a C stand, and this way we can actually boom it out whenever we need to, if we want to get the light a little closer to our subject without the stick getting in the way, or if we're coming over a desk or a table. It's just so light, and it's very fast and easy just to boom out. Again, on a C stand, of course, you can go bigger on a Menace arm with absolutely no trouble, because again, it is so light. So for this reason and just the quality of the light, it plays very well with sky panels. It gets used all the time. Now, if there was a deficit to the light, it's definitely going to be some of the design and build quality issues. One of the biggest is, of course, this mess. Now, whenever the guys first get a hold of this light and they look at this, they usually say something to the effect of, oh no, but actually they don't say that. They say something else, which I'm not going to repeat. This is a bit of a design disaster, in my opinion. Now, the control unit is fine. There's no audible fans in it that I can hear, and it's made out of aluminum. This AC power supply is just a generic power supply. They do kind of give this little V-mount Velcro attachment, which I do use, but it's kind of it's kind of ridiculous. Definitely not pro grade when the quality of the light is pro grade. It would be great to have an integrated unit to eliminate some of this messy wiring and somewhat questionable build quality of some of these units. Now, if it was integrated, it would be bigger, would be heavier. It may have to use fans because the AC power supply, it does get very hot to the touch once it's on for a bit of time. But it's when you're working every day, you do expect a certain level of quality with the gear you use. And again, because this is such a nice light, I hope that Intellytech can improve the situation. Now, the other questionable factor with this light, of course, is going to be these connectors. They're plastic, they're small, it's kind of a fine thread on them. I don't know how long they're going to last. I assume they're going to break fairly soon. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get something much more robust, something a little more industry standard quality, and I'm going to make new ends for this light. One of the accessories I bought, or actually the only accessory I bought, was this extended header cable. Now this to me is almost a requirement if you're going to get this light, because the header cable on this light is exceptionally short. Now if you're just going to, you put this on a stand, the head on the stand, you're going to have the power supply right next to it on the stand, I mean, then you're going to be fine. But again, because this is such a versatile light, and we do like to boom it out, you know, on a menace arm or a C-boom or something like that, it's just great to have an extended run of header cable to get to our control unit. Because this way, someone could be, you know, not right on top of the light. It could be someplace convenient, comfortable that I can reach the settings, or the gaffer can reach the control unit, and we can make adjustments just by looking at the monitor. This does have provisions for wireless. I don't have that. It didn't come with the unit, so I don't have that at the moment. So that pretty much wraps it up with Intellytech's LiteCloth LC160. I think it was very much a surprise find. The price is certainly very reasonable. I did get it from B&H, so this is not a sponsored video. This is just a report from the field of a unit that we bought at retail. Thanks a lot.